Hi, my name's Cameron, and I'm doing Asian men in media. So, Asian American men were mainly played by white men in yellowface for a long time. And the first Asian American actor to make it was Sesshu Hayakawa. He played a lot of love interests, but his roles exemplified his sexuality. His lovers were often white, and he was powerful in real life, with white women being attracted to him off screen. This was very different than it was for a long time after that. A big event that shattered this was Japan's alliance with Nazi Germany. It sparked a lot of hate against Asian Americans, with more caricatures and propaganda coming out, and that was a lot based in film because it's easy to spread these messages in film. So Asians and Asian Americans were exclusively portrayed as villains, and white actors in yellowface would play these characters. Bruce Lee started this breakaway of this negative portrayal. He allowed um, an Asian American to be a superhero. Um, he was often only being commanded by white people, so they would tell him to attack. Um, and he wasn't in charge of what they were doing or where they were going. He was kind of a sidekick. And he also instated a lot of these stereotypes, like all Asians and Asian Americans know martial arts. But it was good as Asian kids could see themselves being heroes or powerful in some way. That being said, Asian kids still had a very high degree of internalized racism. They felt like they couldn't be Asian. They felt like they should try to run from that because of the media that was presenting them as villains or only nerdy or not powerful in any way. Still in a lot of racist roles. Um, Asian American actors started just auditioning for roles that were made for white actors rather than roles that were specifically for Asian American actors. This did work. So William Lee and Bobby Lee played roles that were casting for only white people, but they got roles that were either written in or they were just played like their white counterparts. And 21 Jump Street was a good example of this, where Dustin Nguyen wasn't specifically supposed to be. Um, his role was supposed to be played by a white man, but they casted him, and it you could see the changing of the rhetoric throughout the show. So he escaped during the Vietnam War. His character escaped during the Vietnam War and took the identity of a Japanese baby that was ran to America. Um, and he was kind of later coming to terms with his ideas of actually being Vietnamese, which this was done in the beginning because they didn't think audiences would know the difference between Vietnamese and Japanese. But as times changed, that was unacceptable to fans. But the fans really liked how this was handled, um, and it shed light on the rhetoric and harmful messages that that show would have been portraying if they hadn't done something about it. Um, in the 1970s and 80s, Asian Americans started breaking away from the major Hollywood scene, I guess. So they made a lot of their own independent um, film broadcasters, and they made a lot of their own movies. An example of this was the debut in made in 2000. It was the first film not tailored to white audiences. It wasn't run through a white director's eyes and changed by white directors. It was just made exclusively by Asian American people. And Charlotte Sometimes in 2002 depicted love and romance and sex between Asian Americans, shedding light on the fact that Asian Americans are rarely able to be seen as sexual um, after after the um, World War II. So this was kind of a very quick history lesson of the different things that happen, but the stereotypes you can start seeing were important in this. So um, Asian men were the stereotypes were that Asian men were often not seen as powerful or only a sidekick to a white man. This was very easily seen in Bruce Lee and his movies. So this delegitimizes the fact that um, Asian men are men because it feminizes them um, because men are supposed to be leaders and powerful. So Asian men are disconnected from that and seen as more feminine because women are often seen as followers or submissive. Um, Next is that Asian men are seen as not sexual or dominant. This is another attempt to make them seem like less than men. They are often either seen as not even wanting to be like not even considered or failing at romance or romantic or sexual advances in a comedic way. So in Fargo, there's a good example of an Asian man that is trying to hit on this white woman and she's not having it, but it's seen as funny because he's an Asian man and she would never like try to date him. Asian men are often seen staying in the lines and following the rules. This is a common American trait because American men can break all the rules. You see them murdering people or breaking laws, and they don't really get any consequences, and that's kind of become synonymous with being American. Asian men need to follow the rules because it's a way of seeing them as less American, so they need to follow the rules. It's also a way to connect them with the model minority idea. So if they are following the rules or being good compared to, this was a big one during the civil rights movement, so they would you know be seen as a model minority or a good minority. um they're often villains in movies. This comes more from propaganda, the World War II and Nazi Germany, because they were aligned with Nazi Germany. It's often compounded with mystical powers or drugs. So they take culturally or historically significant events and blame it on Asian Americans. Um, it often falls on men because women can't be seen as threats. Asian men being intelligent also falls in the model minority of being helpful to white people. They're smart enough to be accountants or, you know, make plans, but they're not smart enough to actually instate those plans, be successful businessmen. They're like the background sidekick characters. They'll do all the math for you and you can, save the world for them. And this is a continuation of the model minority. They'll help the white man succeed, but they're not actually going to succeed themselves. And yeah, so those are the stereotypes that were shown in the documentary. I think you can see a lot of these in your daily viewing of movies, films, even today.